What does listening have to do with me, you might ask? How is listening going to help me to lose weight or to feel better? Well, I'm talking about listening in a different way, listening to others and to yourself, and this will definitely help with weight and feeling better. When I trained to be a principals coach, I had many listening exercises to do. So many that I would really groan inwardly as the exercise was announced. After all, I knew how to listen, didn't I? I'd done numerous NLP and coaching trainings. But what is different with listening from a principal's perspective is that instead of listening for a cue, for the submodalities the client was running, or whether the client was kinesthetic, auditory, or visual, this is listening with nothing on my mind. And that is harder than it sounds. I thought I was a good listener, but I really wasn't. People generally listen for cues to jump in and have their turn at talking. They're thinking about what they want to say instead of listening to the other person. Or they listen so they can talk about when they had the same experience. They're listening for the Me Too moment. But this isn't listening to the other person. This is listening to your own narrative, listening to your head. I was at a talk one evening when someone told me that she was a good listener because, she said, she worked in sales and so she'd been trained to listen for the buying cue. But this is the same as listening for NLP cues. It isn't listening in the way I'm talking about and not in the way I want to encourage you to listen. Now, over the years, you may have been introduced to active listening. This is when you repeat certain parts of a sentence back to whoever is talking to you. So someone might tell you that they're afraid of dogs because they were bitten as a child. And you would say, oh, so you're afraid of dogs. And this would continue throughout the conversation. Now, the intention is to make the other person, the person that's talking, to make them aware that you've heard what they say. But if anyone has ever subjected you to active listening, you may not have felt heard, but you might have felt really irritated or annoyed. Often, the people that we don't really listen to are the people we care about most. You might be accused by a family member of not really listening, and you can probably repeat back most of what the person said to you. But they may be right. You might not have been listening. Just because you can parrot back a part of a conversation or a whole conversation doesn't mean that you are listening. Instead of listening to the other person, the person you care about, you were probably listening to your inner narrator. So instead of listening with nothing on your mind, you are only listening to what is on your mind. And one of the reasons that listening from this place of nothing on your mind is so important is that whoever you're listening to will feel that you're really with them, that you're truly present. When you listen from this calm place, with no jumping in to add your bit to the conversation, no advice unless you've been asked for advice, you're really heart to heart with that other person. You feel connected. And as human beings crave connection, listening from this place is so good for your and your loved ones' mental health. So how about your physical health? How can listening help you physically? Well, I've talked before about listening to your body, about listening to the signals that your body sends you about what you need rather than listening to your thoughts about what you want. And this is so important when it comes to the way you eat. Now, there's a link between the way you think and the way you eat. And you also know that the way you think is a determining factor in whether you manage to lose weight. To really know what to eat and when to eat. And if you listen to your body rather than eating by the clock or when you think it's time to eat, you'll know when you're genuinely hungry. When you listen to your head rather than to your body, Well, you might not even recognize hunger because you're so used to eating when you want something rather than when you need it. Many people graze all day because they're frightened of feeling hungry, as if that were a bad thing. And then, often, when they eat a meal, they eat it so fast that the full signals to the brain aren't registered until they're at bursting point. They're not listening to their body at all. Are you even aware that you're listening to your mind when you think about food? You might want to eat something for a variety of different reasons because you're bored, lonely, feeling low, feeling high, or any other flavour of thought. But are you hungry? When you think you want something rather than your body telling you that it's time to eat, that's when you might reach for chocolate, crisps, or cake, or get tempted by fast food. You might think that the message is coming from your body, but it isn't. The message is 100% coming from your head, as there is nothing in non-food that the body needs. So when you want or you crave something to eat, ask yourself where you think the message is coming from. And remember that if you want something that isn't good for your body, the message probably isn't coming from your body. So how about listening for wisdom? I have so many clients who tell me they're listening for wisdom, for a sign. Now, this may be, but in the majority of cases, they're listening for validation or approval to take a certain action. Wisdom doesn't arrive with a clap of thunder, which is why wisdom gets lost in a thought storm. Wisdom is just an inner knowing. So if you think that you should do something and you're waiting for wisdom to give you a sign, you probably already know what you want to do and are trying to justify the decision. Now, this could be as simple as going for a run or as complex as getting into or out of a relationship. And wisdom is only found in the moment. You can't have wisdom about the past, as that's hindsight, and you can't have wisdom about the future, as that's imagination. So ask yourself, what is best for you right now, in this moment? And then listen to your wisdom. Another way to listen to your body is to pay attention to the signals it sends you about your health. Your body will give you signs and signals that something is amiss and needs attention. Just like your car will give you warning signs if something isn't working properly, so will your body. Changes in nails, skin, eyes, the taste in your mouth, or stomach issues could all be signs that your body wants you to pay attention. I'm not, however, asking you to scan your body for signals or to worry about any changes you perceive. Worry and anxiety come from your head, and it's so easy to get caught up in the trap of creating stories about health issues that feel real. And then you're back to listening to your head instead of your body. So I hope that you can see that, as Sid Banks said, there is listening and there is listening. And listening in the ways we've talked about really can help you to feel better in mind and body.